joining me now. NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray, Axios senior politics reporter Eugene Scott, and former Obama White House press secretary Robert Gibbs. So, Mark, you work on this calendar all the time. You live by this calendar, not so much the court calendar, but now you've got to factor that in, and certainly the former president does. Yeah,
Andrea, the whole rhythm of a campaign is we actually march from primary to caucus.
To arraignment.
Right. Well, I'm getting to that. That is the normal operation with breaking news and other events that always snack in between. But now all of a sudden it's those primaries and caucuses and the trials that we're going to end up seeing. And I actually think the most kind of mind-boggling thing about it all is that it is very possible, given those court dates that we're going to end up seeing after Super Tuesday, after going into May, even possibly beyond, that Donald Trump could end up winning Iowa, could end up winning New Hampshire, South Carolina, have a lot of delegates banked into Super Tuesday, and then the trials begin. And then the question becomes, even if a jury finds him guilty, what then?
Right. And Eugene, our people have been talking at the Iowa State Fair to people about what they think about all of this and what they think about the trial. And here's some of what they had to say.
Why would they say that he's been indicted for a fourth time?
I guess I really don't know.
My wife keeps me in touch with that because I'm retired and I don't keep up with it. But she watches Fox News all the time.
I just really don't care. I've seen the headlines and it doesn't matter to me.
And you did a focus group in Michigan. What were they telling you there? We just interviewed the governor today.
Yeah, we did. I think what was really interesting about Michigan swing voters, people who voted for Trump in 2016, Biden in 2020, is that they said they actually can't keep up with the indictments. It's not that they don't care, but one gentleman said there are just so many. And I'd rather talk about the economy, abortion rights, foreign policy. And the focus on the indictments is actually keeping candidates from being able to tell voters where they stand on these issues. And that's concerning a lot of swing voters.
Robert, to you about the indictments. Do you think that this breaks through, or will it only be if there are cameras in the courtroom, as is likely in Georgia, if that stays in the state court, not the federal court?
Andrew, I think it'll only break through when you begin to hear, as you mentioned in the previous segment, whether or not some of Donald Trump's political opponents are going to take him on. The pathway that Brian Kemp has shown people this week, I think is going to be illustrative. We'll see if anybody does that next week at the debate. It's hard to brand Trump a loser if you don't actually admit that Trump lost the election, which I think has been hard for different candidates to modulate on. So it'll be interesting to see, does somebody take a step and try to make the case here? Do they continue to defend Donald Trump? Because, look, if they're not willing to pull him away or try to pull him away from his voters, I doubt they're going anywhere.
Mark, getting any of these candidates to focus on this when they're so worried about angering the base. I mean, as I was just discussing, with Brendan Buck, that Mike Pence does seem to be moving in that direction because of his central role and because it is, people know what he did. So they already have to make a decision about him.
Yeah, and of course, it's also Asa Hutchinson and Chris Christie have also been the bigger critiquers when it comes to Donald Trump and his conduct and litigation. But are they kind of reading where the Republican electorate is? Like, if the idea is this actually being driven by the campaigns and the candidates, or are they just really responding where the electorate is? And the overwhelming majority of Republicans say Donald Trump did nothing wrong. And if that is what they're reading from their voters, then maybe the best course of action for them is to say, okay, and admit that Donald Trump did nothing wrong, that he won 2020, and go from there.
And I was talking to Governor Whitmer about, of course, the Inflation Reduction Act and some of the policy successes, arguably, of the Biden administration. When you were talking to voters out there from your focus group, are they acknowledging that or are aware of it?
So there were two interesting findings. The swing voters love the governor, but they don't credit Democrats, and specifically Biden, for the infrastructure successes. They don't see signs saying that this is something that came about from Democratic lawmakers, and they aren't sure that it's wrong for Republicans to take credit for it, even if they didn't vote for him, which is really interesting. So what was made very clear is that Biden has a lot to do to remind swing voters of what he's already done.
And then there's Hunter Biden, Robert Gibbs, in terms of things that are hanging over the Democrats in the White House. So now, now we know that one of his attorneys has actually resign from representing him because he's going to be a witness in the argument over whether or not that plea deal was canceled, because he helped to